A Course in Miracles. Lesson 182. I will be still an instant and go home. This world you seem to live in is not home to you, and somewhere in your mind you know that this is true. A memory of home keeps haunting you, as if there were a place that called you to return, although you do not recognize the voice, nor what it is the voice reminds you of. Yet still you feel an alien here, from somewhere all unknown. Nothing so definite that you could say with certainty you are an exile here. Just a persistent feeling, sometimes not more than a tiny throb, at other times hardly remembered, actively dismissed, but surely to return to mind again. No one but knows whereof we speak. Yet some try to put by their suffering in games they play to occupy their time and keep their sadness from them. Others will deny that they are sad and do not recognize their tears at all. Still others will maintain that what we speak of is illusion, not to be considered more than but a dream. Yet who, in simple honesty, without defensiveness and self-deception, would deny he understands the words we speak? We speak today for everyone who walks this world, for he is not at home. He goes uncertainly about in endless search, seeking in darkness what he cannot find, not recognizing what it is he seeks. Their thousand homes he makes, yet none contents his restless mind. He does not understand he builds in vain. The home he seeks cannot be made by him. There is no substitute for heaven. All he ever made was hell. Perhaps you think it is your childhood home that you would find again. The childhood of your body and its place of shelter are a memory now so distorted that you merely hold a picture of a past that never happened. Yet there is a child in you who seeks his father's house and knows that he is alien here. This childhood is eternal, with an innocence that will endure forever. Where this child shall go is holy ground. It is his holiness that lights up heaven, and that brings to earth the pure reflection of the light above, wherein are earth and heaven joined as one. It is this child in you your father knows as his own son. It is this child who knows his father. He desires to go home so deeply, so unceasingly. His voice cries unto you to let him rest a while. He does not ask for more than just a few instants of respite, just an interval in which he can return to breathe again the holy air that fills his Father's house. You are his home as well. He will return, but give him just a little time to be himself within the peace that is his home, resting in silence and in peace and love. This child needs your protection. He is far from home. He is so little that he seems so easily shut out, his tiny voice so readily obscured, his call for help almost unheard amid the grating sounds and harsh and rasping noises of the world. Yet does he know that in you still abides his sure protection? You will fail him not. He will go home, and you along with him. Lesson 182, Part 2. This child is your defenselessness, your strength. He trusts in you. He came because he knew you would not fail. He whispers of his home unceasingly to you, for he would bring you back with him, that he himself might stay, and not return again where he does not belong, and where he lives an outcast in a world of alien thoughts. His patience has no limits. He will wait until you hear his gentle voice within you, calling you to let him go in peace, along with you, to where he is at home, and you with him. When you are still an instant, when the world recedes from you, when valueless ideas cease to have value in your restless mind, then will you hear his voice. So poignantly he calls to you that you will not resist him longer. In that instant, he will take you to his home, and you will stay with him in perfect stillness, silent and at peace, beyond all words, untouched by fear and doubt, sublimely certain that you are at home. Rest with him frequently today, for he was willing to become a little child that you might learn of him how strong is he who comes without defenses, offering only love's messages to those who think he is their enemy. He holds the might of heaven in his hand and calls them friend, and gives his strength to them, that they may see he would be friend to them. He asks that they protect him, for his home is far away, and he will not return to it alone. Christ is reborn as but a little child each time a wanderer would leave his home, For he must learn that what he would protect is but this child, who comes defenseless and who is protected by defenselessness. Go home with him from time to time today. You are as much an alien here as he. Take time today to lay aside your shield which profits nothing, and lay down the spear and sword you raised against an enemy without existence. Christ has called you friend and brother. He has even come to ask your help in letting him go home today, completed and completely. He has come as does a little child, who must beseech his father for protection and for love. He rules the universe, and yet he asks unceasingly that you return with him, and take illusions as your gods no more. You have not lost your innocence. It is for this you yearn. This is your heart's desire. This is the voice you hear, and this the call which cannot be denied. The Holy Child remains with you. His home is yours. Today he gives you his defenselessness, and you accept it in exchange for all the toys of battle you have made. And now the way is open, and the journey has an end in sight at last. Be still an instant, and go home with him, and be at peace a while. Lesson 182. I will be still an instant and go home. You fought an enemy that never existed. What if you could lay down every weapon? What if the strongest evidence that you never left home is that home has never stopped calling you? The lesson begins with a startling statement. This world you seem to live in is not home to you. Notice the word seem. It does not say this world is your home. It does not even begin by arguing against the world. It simply invites you to question what appears to be true. Then it says something extraordinary. A memory of home keeps haunting you. We usually believe we are haunted by our past, by our mistakes, by our regrets, by what someone said, by what someone did. But the Course quietly turns the entire idea upside down. It says you are haunted by home. Something within you has never forgotten. That is why there are moments when everything grows strangely quiet. A moment of laughter, a moment of stillness, a moment of beauty. A moment when time itself seems to disappear. Those moments are not escapes from reality. They are reminders of reality. The ego says they are exceptions. The Course says they are memories. Then the lesson describes a feeling almost everyone recognizes. A quiet sense that no matter where you go, something still feels unfinished. Not because something is missing, but because something is calling. People try to quiet that feeling in many different ways. Some stay endlessly busy. Some insist they are perfectly happy. Others dismiss the whole thing as imagination. Yet beneath every distraction remains the same quiet longing. Not for another experience, not for another achievement, not for another place, but for home. That longing is not evidence that you are separated from God. It is evidence that somewhere within your mind, the memory of what God created has never been erased. You cannot remember what never existed. The memory itself is the evidence. The longing itself is the evidence. The call itself is the evidence. And if home has never stopped calling you, perhaps the journey was never about finding your way back. Perhaps it has always been about becoming still enough to hear the voice that never stopped calling your name. Movement 2. The Endless Construction Project. If home has never stopped calling you, then another question naturally arises. Why haven't you heard it? The lesson answers that question by exposing something almost all of us have spent our lives doing without realizing it. He goes uncertainly about in endless search, seeking in darkness what he cannot find, not recognizing what it is he seeks. Notice the tragedy. The problem is not that he isn't searching. The problem is that he doesn't know what he's looking for. If you don't know what you're searching for, how could you ever recognize it when you find it? Then comes one of the most devastating sentences in the entire lesson. 1,000 homes he makes, yet none contents his restless mind. Think about that. How many homes have we built? A career we believed would finally complete us. A relationship that promised to fill what we imagined was missing. more money, a larger house, more recognition, more followers, a better body, a different identity, a growing reputation, another accomplishment, another goal, another version of ourselves. None of these things are condemned. The Course is not calling them sinful. It is asking a much quieter question. Did they become home? Did they finally end the search? Or did one achievement simply hand the search to the next achievement? One relationship to the next relationship? One identity to the next identity? The ego is always building, always adding, always editing, always promising. Just one more thing. Just one more success. Just one more change. Just one more victory. Then you'll finally arrive. But the lesson gently interrupts that promise. The home he seeks cannot be made by him. That sentence changes everything. Home cannot be constructed, because home was never manufactured. What God creates is complete. Only what is incomplete needs improvement. Only what is missing needs additions. Only what is temporary needs constant repair. The ego never creates. It rearranges. It edits. It substitutes. It builds another house where home can never be found. That is why the lesson says there is no substitute for heaven. A substitute always promises what it cannot deliver. Not because it is evil, but because no substitute can become the original. And perhaps that is why the search never ends. We have not been looking for another home. We have been trying to manufacture what only God could create. And every substitute events the same disappointing words. Try another one. Movement 3. The child who never stopped calling. After showing us the endless search, the lesson does something unexpected. It introduces the one who never joined the search at all. Yet there is a child in you who seeks his father's house and knows that he is an alien here. Notice what the lesson does not say. It does not say there is a broken child within you, a wounded child, a frightened child, or a child who lost his way. It simply says there is a child who already knows where home is. That changes everything. We've spent our lives trying to teach ourselves how to get back to God. The lesson says there is already something within you that has never forgotten. This child does not need directions. He does not need another teacher. He does not need another spiritual technique. He remembers. And because he remembers, he keeps calling. The lesson says his voice cries unto you. Think about that. We've always imagined ourselves calling out to God. But what if something much deeper has been happening all along? What if the child has been calling to the part of your mind that still believes it wandered away? Not demanding, not condemning, not arguing, simply waiting, patiently, quietly, unceasingly. Then comes one of the most beautiful reversals in the lesson. This childhood is eternal. The body grows older. The body measures itself by years. The world celebrates growing up. Yet the child the Course speaks of does not belong to time. His innocence has never aged. His inheritance has never changed. His home has never been lost. That is why the lesson says wherever this child goes is holy ground. Holiness does not come from the place. The place becomes holy because of the presence that is already there. The child does not carry fear into the world. He carries remembrance. He carries home. Then the lesson says something so gentle it is easy to overlook. He asks for only a little time. Just an instant. Not years of discipline. Not decades of striving. Not another lifetime of becoming worthy. Only an instant of stillness. Because stillness does not create the child. Stillness allows you to hear the one who has been speaking all along.
And then comes the sentence that quietly overturns everything we thought the journey meant. You are his home as well. The child is not trying to discover where home is. He already knows. He is waiting for you to stop wandering long enough to remember, but the home you have been searching for has never been somewhere else. It has always been where he is. Movement 4. Defenselessness is what never left. The lesson now reveals something that seems impossible until you see it. This child is your defenselessness, your strength, not your weakness, your strength. The world has taught us exactly the opposite. Protect yourself, defend yourself, explain yourself, justify yourself, win the argument, preserve your image, guard your reputation, build a stronger defense. Yet every defense quietly confesses the same belief. I can be harmed. That is why every defense begins after fear has already been believed. The defense is never first. The belief in vulnerability comes first. Then the shield is lifted. Then the spear is raised. Then the story is defended. The lesson gently asks us to consider another possibility. What if nothing has ever happened to what God created?
What would the Son of God need to defend if his innocence has never been touched? Truth has never needed bodyguards. Love has never needed a lawyer. Reality has never needed witnesses to prove it exists. Only illusions demand constant protection. Then the lesson says something almost impossible to believe. He came because he knew you would not fail. How could the child know that? Because he has never believed what the ego believes. He has never accepted the story of separation. He knows only what his father created. His certainty does not come from confidence in your personality. It comes from certainty about your identity. Then the lesson asks us to become still. When the world recedes from you, when valueless ideals cease to have value in your restless mind. What are these valueless ideals? Being right, winning arguments, looking important, being admired, being chosen, becoming famous, building the perfect image, being understood by everyone, never making mistakes, controlling outcomes, predicting the future, seeking revenge, protecting a separate identity, collecting accomplishments to prove your worth, accumulating wealth as evidence of safety, living longer as though more years could become eternity, specialness in every form. Notice the lesson does not condemn these things. It simply reveals their value, or rather, their lack of value. Not because they are evil, but because they cannot give what they promise. They cannot become home. They cannot replace heaven. They cannot improve what God already completed. They are investments that never pay the return they promise. And when those investments finally lose their value, the child's voice is no longer drowned out. It has been there all along, waiting, not for you to become worthy, but for you to stop giving everything else a value it could never truly possess. When the child finally speaks, he does not ask you to fight harder. He does not ask you to become stronger in the world's sense. He asks you to become defenseless. Then the lesson reveals one of its most astonishing ideas. The child offers only love's messages to those who think he is their enemy. Think about that. The words are carefully chosen. It does not say to those who are his enemies. It says to those who think he is their enemy. The conflict exists only in their perception, not in his. That is how love sees. Love does not return attack for attack. It does not answer fear with fear. It does not answer judgment with judgment. It does not defend itself against misunderstanding, because love has nothing to defend. It only extends what it is. The ego cannot understand this. It believes every attack deserves a response. Every accusation requires a defense. Every insult demands an answer. Every misunderstanding must be corrected. But the child knows something the ego has forgotten. An illusion cannot injure reality. A dream cannot wound the dreamer. A lie cannot rewrite the truth. That is why the lesson says he holds the might of heaven in his hand. Notice where his strength comes from. Not from overpowering others, not from winning, not from proving anyone wrong. His strength comes from never leaving love. That is real power. The world thinks power is the ability to control. The Course says power is the inability to be separated from what you are. Then comes another beautiful reversal. The child asks that they protect him. At first that sounds backwards. Why would the strong ask for protection? But he is not asking you to protect reality. Reality cannot be threatened. He is asking you to protect your willingness to hear him, to protect the quiet place where his voice can still be recognized. Every moment you choose stillness over conflict. Every moment you choose forgiveness over grievance. Every moment you choose peace over being right, you are protecting the awareness of the child. Not because he is weak, but because your attention has so often been given to the noise of the world instead of the quiet certainty of truth. And with every instant you choose to listen, the voice becomes easier to recognize. Not because it has grown louder, but because everything else has finally begun to grow quiet. Now the lesson reaches its great unveiling. Christ is reborn as but a little child each time a wanderer would leave his home. Notice what is being reborn. Not Christ. Your awareness of Christ. The sun does not rise because it was absent. It rises because the earth has turned. Christ has never departed. Only our attention has wandered. Then the lesson says something that quietly exposes our entire strategy. He must learn that what he would protect is but this child who comes defenseless and who is protected by defenselessness. We've been protecting the wrong thing. We've protected our image, our reputation, our opinions, our grievances, our achievements, our specialness, our past, our future, our body, our story. And while we guarded everything the ego made, we overlooked the only thing that was ever worth valuing: the quiet certainty of the child. Then comes one of the most unforgettable invitations in the entire workbook. Lay aside your shield, which profits nothing. Lay down the spear and sword you raised against an enemy without existence. An enemy without existence. Read that again. If the enemy never existed, then every battle was fought against a misunderstanding. Every defense was built upon a false premise. Every victory was empty. Every defeat was imagined. That is why the title of this lesson cuts so deeply. You fought an enemy that never existed. What if you could lay down every weapon? Then the lesson speaks one of its most brilliant metaphors: the toys of battle. Toys, not weapons, toys. Think about what those toys have been. Defending your story, needing to be right, winning arguments, holding grievances, blaming someone else for your peace, comparing yourself with others, seeking approval, building an image, protecting a reputation, chasing fame, accumulating accomplishments to prove your worth, trying to control outcomes, seeking revenge, defending a separate identity, rehearsing old hurts, imagining future conflicts. Every strategy the ego has ever offered. The lesson smiles and calls them toys. Not because your suffering was insignificant, but because none of those things ever possessed the power you believed they had. Children eventually outgrow their toys. The Course is inviting us to outgrow the toys of conflict, not by condemning them, not by fearing them, simply by recognizing that they cannot give us what they promised. And then comes the quiet invitation that has been echoing through the entire lesson. Take illusions as your gods no more. Every idol promises home. Every idol promises peace. Every idol promises completion. Yet every idol eventually whispers the same words: Not this one. Try another. The child makes no such promise. He simply reminds you, you have not lost your innocence. You have not lost your father. You have not lost your home. Lay down the toys. Lay down the shield. Lay down the spear. Lay down the sword. There was never an enemy. There was only the quiet voice that never stopped calling you friend. The lesson closes with an invitation so simple that the mind almost overlooks it. Be still an instant, and go home with him. Notice what is missing. There is no command to become, no instruction to improve, no demand to earn, no distance to travel. Only an instant of stillness. Why? Because stillness does not create home. Stillness reveals what has always been here. We began this lesson believing we were wanderers searching for our Father's house. Now we discover something altogether different. The wanderer was never searching for home. The wanderer was searching for substitutes. Home never moved. Home never hid. Home never abandoned the Son of God. The only thing that disappeared was awareness. And awareness returns the moment we stop defending what was never true. That is why the lesson never asks you to become innocent. It tells you, you have not lost your innocence. Notice how absolute that is. Not a little innocence, not recovered innocence, not earned innocence, not innocence after enough spiritual progress. You have not lost it. If innocence has never been lost, then nothing real has ever been damaged. If nothing real has ever been damaged, then nothing real has ever needed defending. The shield can fall. The spear can be laid aside. The sword can return to the ground. Not because you finally won the battle, but because there was never an enemy. The child has known this from the beginning. That is why he never stopped calling. That is why he never stopped waiting. That is why he never stopped offering only love's message. He was never trying to take you somewhere new. He was reminding you of where you have always been. Perhaps that is why the lesson says only, be still an instant. Not because heaven is far away, but because the noise is,
Not because God is hidden, but because our attention has wandered. Not because love has been silent, but because we have been listening to louder voices. And now the journey comes to its quiet end, not with an arrival, but with a recognition. Not with a victory, but with the laying down of every weapon. Not with the discovery of a new home, but with the remembrance of the home you never left. You fought an enemy that never existed. Now lay down every weapon. Be still an instant, and remember, you are already home. There is something beautiful about the way this lesson ends. It does not end with a command. It ends with a remembrance. For just a little while, we have been detective boy. We have followed every clue. The feeling that we never quite belonged here. The memory that kept returning. The endless search. The 1,000 homes. The eternal child. The quiet voice. The defenseless strength. The valueless ideals. The toys of battle. Every piece of evidence has been pointing to the very same conclusion. No one ever left home. The world taught us that life was a journey away from God. The Course gently asks, where is the evidence? Can truth leave truth? Can eternity become temporary? Can the Son of God become something God did not create? Or have we simply believed a story for so long that we stopped questioning it? Think about what has quietly fallen away during this lesson. Not the world, not your brothers, not your life, only what was never true. The belief that you were vulnerable, the belief that you were guilty, The belief that you had to earn what God had already given. The belief that you needed another home. The belief that you needed another identity. The belief that you needed another defense. One by one, the shield, the spear, the sword, the toys of battle, they were laid down. Not because you became stronger, but because you finally remembered your strength. And what was your strength? Defenselessness. The child never fought because the child never believed there was an enemy. The child never searched because the child never forgot home. The child never defended innocence because innocence cannot be attacked. Perhaps that is the greatest miracle of all. Nothing real needed to change, only the belief that something had changed. So today, do not try to become the child. Do not try to find home. Do not try to manufacture peace. Simply be still an instant, long enough to hear the voice that has never stopped calling, long enough to remember what has never been forgotten, long enough to lay down every weapon, long enough to discover that the journey ends exactly where it always had to end, in the home you never left. And perhaps, after everything this lesson has shown us, we can finally read its title as it was always meant to be read. I will be still an instant and go home.